Hello, I'm Anthony Frazier, Director of Facilities and Director of Pupil Personnel.
And I'm Cynthia York, Director of Special Programs.
Today we're going to talk to you about our Health and Safety Committee and also about the school calendar. Adopted by the Board of Education, the Barren County Board of Education, our school calendar for this year will look as the following. Our first start date for this year for students will be August the 24th for kindergarten through 12th grade. Through our new calendar, we'll be doing 162 days with our variable calendar and getting in 1,062 hours, which is a little different than what we've done in the past. Preschool first day will be September the 8th. We were able to work through the calendar with our committee and get fall break, spring break, 2 weeks off in December, just as our previous calendars have been, which ends our last day of school for students May 14th.
As part of the charge from the Kentucky Department of Education, each district was asked to set up a task force to discuss what reopening for schools will look like in each district. With parents and administrators and board members, we did develop a task force, and as part of that, we came up with a Healthy at Schools tiered approach to guide our reopening as well as throughout the school year, what it will look like.
Through our question and answers, we composed the most common questions to get those answered and get out to you all for our committee. The first question talks about, will parents be allowed inside schools?
Well, based on the tiered approach, we have 3 tiers: green, yellow, and red. At the green tier, we will not have any known cases within our buildings at that point. So visitors will be allowed in the building, but of course they will need to schedule appointments prior to entering the building and be screened according to guidelines. At the yellow tier, only essential visitors will be allowed in the building. On the topic of face coverings or face masks, who is required to wear one?
Yes, they are going to be required. We will follow the recommendations by the governor, the CDC, and the health department when social distancing is not feasible. Preschool and kindergarten students are not required to wear face coverings. Grades 1 through 12 are required along with staff. A question that comes up quite often is, what happens if a student or a staff member tests positive for COVID?
We will follow the Healthy at Schools tiered approach, which addresses that at both the green, yellow, and red tiers. When a student tests positive or a staff member, we are basically at that point at the yellow tier, which means we will look at contact tracing to determine the student who has the diagnosis and who that student was exposed to. Those persons and families will be informed of that diagnosis by a staff member of the Barren County Schools and or the health department. And at that point, we will look at who needs to stay home as far as for the 14 required days and who needs to be tested.
Another question, will students be required to have temperature checks before loading the buses in the morning? And the answer is yes. Students will be required to have their temperature checked each morning by a staff member or a signed affidavit by a guardian, which will be provided by the school saying that the parent has checked that temperature of the student and they have no fever or been exposed to anyone with COVID for the last 48 hours.
And not only will they have to have that temperature check or that affidavit upon entering the bus, any bus rider will have to have their temperature rechecked before they can enter the building. This is a requirement because of temperature regulations, temperatures that may change during the course of waiting in line for the bus versus riding the bus versus once you arrive at school. And then another question that I know is on everyone's mind, how are we going to keep our buildings sanitized?
We have worked with several different vendors. We have lots of products that are safe for kids and we're ready to use for cleaning and disinfecting our buildings. Routine scheduled cleaning and sanitizing will occur multiple times in every facility, especially the high-touch areas.
So again, just to summarize what we are doing to keep our students and staff safe when it comes to health and safety, we are going to allow visitors, but they will be limited. Face coverings will be, or masks will be required when social distancing is not feasible. Temperature checks will be required of anyone entering our buildings. And just remember too, when it comes to the face coverings, that is applicable to 1st through 12th grades. We do not expect our preschoolers and or our kindergarten students to wear a mask.
We will get through this together. We are BC.